Hello, hello again. So good news, we're working on a ride to get the lady home. There's a few people that have stepped up. I think they deserve a big hand. Yes? We also have a couple announcements here. One is the children's show, the magic show, is at 2 p.m. upstairs. You can see through the glass, that's where it's going to be, upstairs. As well as Marcel Auger. He's 83 years old. He has lost a black silk type jacket, and it has Advanced Ed on one sleeve and Marcel on the other. And it has a Cree word on the back that says resilient. And I'm not even going to attempt to try to pronounce it, but that's what it says. So if you have seen that jacket, just let us know and we'll let Marcel know as well. And if you have kids that want to watch the magic show, make sure you get them upstairs for 2 p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Somebody's at a mic.
Mic 2, over here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is it possible to announce some numbers for the draw again? We missed them.
Sure. Yeah.
If you would, please.
Yeah, so we've not officially opened the meeting, but certainly we will.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you're staying at the Canalta, they actually found a set of keys with a green wristband around it, and it's at the front desk at the Canalta. Okay, this draw here, if you have your ticket ready, this is the number that won for this. 562627. Bingo? Anybody? That's the number for that. Now we have a gift card here also for Tim Hortons. That was the second draw. And this has an undetermined amount, but I'm presuming that it's substantive because they wouldn't donate it if it was not. So I'm thinking it's got to be at least $5. You get at least a couple of cups of coffee. That number is 562616. And it's the green tickets. Shining Mountains draw. So if you have it, this ticket, you're a winner. Or as my grandson says, wiener. You're a big wiener.
I'll just read it out, and then the mover, seconder here is their job.
Hey guys, this is your 2-minute warning. If we could get everybody to take their chairs, make sure you grab your coffee, make sure you grab your water. Let's get ready for an afternoon of some healthy debate on some resolutions. Let's get ready to practice our self-government.
Yeah, because I've usually just done last year's.
So if you know anybody with tickets from the that were at Shining Mountain, if we don't get a response here by, let's say, the end of the business part of this meeting, we'll do a redraw and see if we can find a winner that way.
Hard to hear, eh? Yeah, COMB. Eric Tomlinson.
Okay, it's time to get back to our business. How did you guys enjoy lunch? Those bologna sandwiches, eh? Yeah, bologna sandwiches, bannock sandwiches. Yeah, man, that was the life. Okay, we're gonna get now to the legislative process of our business meeting, and this is where we talk about the resolutions, in particular the special resolutions that require 21 days notice. We also are able to discuss the ordinary resolutions, resolutions that ordinary citizens like yourselves can submit to the floor for discussion and for vote. And a lot of those ordinary resolutions are what we call policy direction. And so what I'm going to propose to you, but I need your support on this, is that we separate the special resolutions from the ordinary resolutions at this point of the meeting, and that we move the ordinary resolutions until later, which would give people time, if they wanted, to write up these ordinary resolutions. That usually happens anyway, because we do the ordinary special resolutions and ordinary resolutions at the last part of our meetings, and then that's why the people are able to write a ordinary resolution over the evening and bring it to us and whatnot. So with your indulgence, would you be okay if we were to do that, to deal with the special resolutions separately from the ordinary resolutions, and that would give everybody time to write them up? So with a show of hands, can I ask if you're in favor of that, please? If you're in favor of that, please raise your hand. If you're not in favor of that, I will listen to reason as well. But it looks like the majority of the people support that, so we'll move with that, and thank you. And that's the beauty about self-government. Those rules are in your hands. So as a chairman, I like to do that, to give that opportunity back to you, right? It makes my job a lot easier. So now dealing with the special resolutions, now these are separate now, like I said, from the ordinary resolutions that only require 50% plus 1, or 51%. These require 75% in order to pass. And that's 75% of the people, the number of people that voted. So what I need right now is I need Ron Harrison and his counters. So I know this sprung up a little quickly here, but we have Ron Harrison back there with his counters. So Ron is going to be the one, and his counters will be the ones to help us identify if we've met that threshold of 75%. Now, again, in our bylaws, the process allows us to select, each region selects a person to sit on a resolutions committee. And this resolutions committee, their job is simple. Their job is, along with our legal counsel, our corporate legal, is to make a determination on whether or not the resolutions received as special resolutions have met the criteria of a special resolution. That means, first of all, did they get 21 days notice? So did we receive them in time? And yes, we did. That's why all 3 of those special resolutions are in your package. It met the 21-day threshold. Secondly, they make a determination now, does that special resolution actually a special resolution? Does it change the bylaws? And they're going to report on that. And so what they do is they've met previously already as per last year's recommendation, direction from the AGA, and they're now going to provide their report. And so from all the 6 regions and the legal, they select a spokesperson, and that spokesperson is going to deliver their report. This year it's Tyler Fetch. So I'm going to turn it over now to Tyler and to Terry Antonello, our legal counsel. And then as we go through that, I'll bring up the resolutions. And as per our process, we will have the mover move it, and the seconder second it. And you will remember, under our process, we made a determination that those folks had to be here actually in person to move it. So they will be the ones to move it, and then that's when we'll go through our voting process. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler Fetch and to Terry Antonello. So if we could have your attention, please. This is the important part of our business. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tyler Fetch. I'm the Region 4 representative as well as the chair of the Resolutions Committee. So we'll start with Special Resolution number 1. Whereas the objectives of the Métis Nation of Alberta, Article 1.6, to develop prosperity and economic self-sufficiency within the Métis Nation of Alberta. Whereas an ordinary resolution was passed.
Excuse me, Tyler. There's folks that are talking that are near a mic. And because you're near a mic, it's coming up really loud and people can't hear. And as well, I forgot to mention, the special resolutions themselves are in the report. So if you look in the annual report, at the back, you'll see special resolution 1, 2, and 3. Now, I don't believe we have them up on the slide, but for next year, that's one of the action items we'll do, is we'll ensure that these resolutions are also on the screen as well to provide a little bit more context. Okay. Sorry, Tyler, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Bruce. So whereas an ordinary resolution was passed at the 88th Métis Nation of Alberta's annual assembly at Métis Crossing, whereas a special resolution was to be drafted and brought to the Métis Nation of Alberta annual assembly to reflect the following changes. Whereas the current Métis Nation of Alberta's bylaws, Article 24.2 states, 24.2, an annual assembly shall not be held twice in one region before it has been held in every other region or otherwise determined by provincial council. Therefore, be it resolved that Article 24.2 is replaced with the following. 24.2, an annual assembly shall be held at Métis Crossing every second year beginning in 2021 and in every other region on rotating years or otherwise determined by provincial council. Moved by Paul Bercier, seconded by Art Cunningham, and the Resolutions Committee has determined that this is a valid resolution.
Okay, is Paul Bercier here?
I'm here, thanks.
Paul, do you move that?
I moved.
Art
Paul
Cunningham,
Bercier?
Art Cunningham, are you here?
I'm here, and I also move it. Second, rather.
Seconded? Perfect. Is there any discussion now? This is the part where we have our healthy debates. If you agree with this resolution, you can get up to the mic and you can say, I support it. If you don't agree with it, you can get up to the mic and say you don't.
Can I say?
So what this is proposing now is right now in our bylaws, it says we'll meet annually in each region. What this is proposing is they're saying at every second year that we'll meet at Métis Crossing. So is there any discussion on this? Mic number 3.
Yeah, Art Cunningham, Region 3. I would just like to, of course, support the resolution, but based on my involvement with the Métis Crossing for many years and my experience of traveling many years throughout the province of Alberta as a Métis, I'm very fortunate enough in my travels to visit the different regions and very proud to hear the stories of the regional activities and the pride in each one of the regions from the Métis people there. But there was some gap that was missing to me, and this opportunity came along with Métis Crossing. And the opportunity was to develop a gathering place that no matter where you are in the province as a Métis person, you can say, this is our place. We can say it, share it together, this is our place. And when this opportunity comes, after the good studies and the wisdom of the Métis Nation and the people they assigned to develop the concept and history around Métis Crossing, that really resonated to me. It filled that gap. Now I can meet any Métis person and say, we're meeting at our place. It is literally our place that we can meet. And so I'm excited about the opportunity. Been excited for years of being involved. I'm excited about the new facility that's being built to accommodate Métis people gathering provincially as a group of Métis citizens in this province. So I just wanted to share that, the rationale for my thinking and my perspective. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Ron, you may want to get your counters ready because we need to record the results of this vote regardless. It's a special resolution. Is there any other? Now, bear in mind that sometimes I can't see this way because of that light, so if you'll just say mic number 1, then I know where the mics are now. So is there any more folks in mic number 3? Because I can't see. Anybody?
Paul Bercier.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I had the privilege of being involved in the acquisition of Métis Crossing. And this calendar that each of you have, and when you entered the building, actually clearly represents where Métis Crossing has come and where it is going. And it fulfills a beautiful dream and vision that we had right at the start. And I compliment the people and the Métis Nation for making such an exciting thing happen. Thank you.
Thank you. There, we have the movers and the seconders speak to it. Mic number 2. Please identify yourself as well for the recording secretary.
So my name is Brian Fayant, Region 1. At this point, I'm not even sure which way I'm speaking, so I'm going to address the concern I have. So this is, first off, the concept and the idea is a great idea to do alternating assemblies. So the one issue I have is it says right here that if you have an assembly, you alternate and go to the Métis Crossing, then you have assembly in one of the regions. What about when you come to Region 2, and then the next year, do you have assembly again at Métis Crossing, which is in Region 2? So that's my question, or does Region 2 forfeit that assembly? Or, that's the question.
I'm not to be able to want to answer that. So Paul and Art, was there anything envisioned in that as to what would happen when it rotates to Region 2? Is it automatic that because it's at Métis Crossing that Region 2 would be the beneficiary of that?
Well, I think that's the opportunity for them to have a discussion around that topic, if that's where it wishes. But the concept of Métis Crossing is that it's provincial for all Métis people. And regardless of where you place it in Alberta, it would be in some region. And so I think that what really brought me into it is a concept that's owned by all of us. It belongs to all of us as a provincial group of people. And then the regions are not separate, but they're all part of that, but they have their own interests. So that's really what brought into me. And I think the discussions between the regions and the council at that time will determine that. And I think that's, again, the
Thank you, sir.
approach.
Thank you. And I think there's a built-in mechanism here as well, unless otherwise determined by provincial council. So again, that's a piece as well to consider. Any other discussions? Mic number 3.
Paul Bercier, Region 3. I'd just like to add that by doing it at Métis Crossing, if we're moving towards self-sustainment, this gives us an opportunity to keep the money flowing within the Métis Nation, right at Region 3, right at the crossing, and that belongs to the Métis Nation of Alberta. We don't have to rent a facility. Everything is going to be right there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mic number 2 and then mic number 4. Mic number 2.
This is mic number 2.
Brian Fayant.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so Brian Fayant, Region 1. I've been living in all the regions, 2, 1, whatever, 3, 5. Any case, then I'll support this motion. I'm really thinking it's up to Region 2 then to forfeit or discuss that with the rest of their provincial council members. That's incumbent upon them. So, there you go.
Thank you, good sir. Mic number 4.
Marilyn Lise, Region 6. I was actually just going to say the same thing. It's like when we go into each of the regions now, it's up to the regional council to decide where they want to hold the assembly. So I believe if we go into Region 2 and it's their turn, and if they decide to have it at Métis Crossing or they decide to have it at Bonnyville, I believe that the decision is left up to them.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more people at the mics. Do I hear a question? Question's been called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Ron Harrison, can you capture these numbers? Keep your hands raised. We just want to capture this for our recorder. If they point, then you've been counted. Then you can put your hand down. Keep them up until they point to you. She pointed to you. Girl behind you guys. Perfect. And the reason we're doing this is because when we're getting into self-government, these votes are going to be very important. And it's important we capture the numbers now for this as we go forward. When our children look back, they'll be saying, this is how many people supported it at that time. Okay? Are they all done now? Ron? Well, we still got a couple over here. Oh, Ron, you may have forgot one over here. She didn't have her hand up, but her hand up's now. She wanted to make sure she was counted. So make sure you capture that. Okay, perfect. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Abstained? Motion is carried unanimously. That's the self-government stuff you want to capture in terms of numbers and votes. That's going to be so important. Oh, I'm sorry, there was 2 abstentions at this table. Okay, we're going to get to the next one now.
Special Resolution number 2, submitted to the 2019 Annual General Assembly of the Métis Local number 125, held in Fort Chipewyan on October 2018. Whereas several of the Métis residents of Fort Chipewyan currently do not hold an Alberta Provincial Métis membership card, and whereas these Métis residents of Fort Chipewyan are entitled to full membership in the Métis Nation and are known to be Métis through family ties and self-identification. Therefore, be it resolved that these Métis residents of Fort Chipewyan be granted an ex officio Métis Local number 125 membership card for the purposes of voting in the local elections, access to local Métis programming within the Métis Local number 125 of Fort Chipewyan, and that this become effective immediately. Moved by Jacqueline Ladisseur, seconded by Marina Stewart. And the Resolutions Committee has determined that this is not a valid resolution.
And can you explain why, please?
The resolution does not affect any changes whatsoever to the bylaws, and that is the core function of the special resolutions.
So that's the report on that resolution. It's not a special resolution. Okay. Moving on.
So, special resolution number 3. Whereas the regional offices are a fundamental component of the government of the Métis Nation as outlined in Article 12 of the bylaws, and whereas the agreement entered into with the Government of Canada mandates that the Métis Nation will be responsible for the delivery of vital programs and services to its Métis members, and whereas the Métis Nation will have a duty to deliver these programs and services in a manner that is accountable to its members, and whereas the members wish to have their regional presidents performing their duties with all due diligence and effort in each of their respective regions, and whereas Article 44 of the bylaws outlines the duties of the executive officers, and whereas Article 44.1 of the bylaws outlines the duties of the regional president as follows. 44.1, the president of the regional council shall, A, preside at all meetings of the regional council or allow the vice president to preside at all meetings of the regional council in the absence of the president. B, call meetings of the regional council when necessary or called upon to do so. C, shall be the ex officio member of all committees of the regional council. D, shall see that all orders and resolutions of the regional council are carried into effect. E, shall be one of the 2 signing officers required on all documents, including checks to be signed by the regional council, or may appoint another regional council member to sign on behalf of the president. And F, perform other duties as may be determined by the regional council. Therefore, be it resolved that the following article shall be added as Article 44.1G of the bylaws as a duty of the regional presidents. G, hold office as a full-time position and not be employed elsewhere during the term of office. It's moved by Darlene M. St. Jean, seconded by Frank McCullough. The Resolutions Committee has determined that this is a valid resolution.
There we go. We now have a valid resolution that we have to deal with. So, Darlene St. Jean, are you here to move it?
I am here.
Moved by Darlene St. Jean. Do we have a seconder, Frank McCullough?
Frank's unable to attend today, so Mr. Chairman, Ben House from Region 1, I second this resolution move.
Okay, so I have a question now for you folks. We had originally, as part of our process, our part of our self-government, made a determination that any special resolution that came forward, the mover had to be here and the seconder. We have the mover here, but not the seconder. So we have to make a determination. Are you guys okay with the second as it is, with Mr. Ben House seconding the motion? I will abide by whatever decision's made. So we're gonna make that decision here first. But before I do that, if I believe Mike number 2 might have something to add to this.
So my name is Brian Fant, Region 1. So Ben is here taking over. We've been in many assemblies when people have seconded without the person being present. We've accepted it before. There's no reason why we can't accept it today. And I'll speak to the motion itself separately, because I'm accepting this, wanting to agree with this, doesn't mean I'll explain later.
And that's exactly what I'm asking, Brian. So we've made changes on the floor before. but at our last session, that's what we had agreed upon. But are you guys okay with us having another seconder? The original mover is here, so it's met all the requirements. 21 days. The only thing it hasn't is under our process, where we said the seconder had to be here. Are you guys comfortable? If you're comfortable going with the seconder as it is with Mr. Ben House, being able to second, we'll continue to move on. But I'm going to ask you right now, if you're okay with that, raise your hand. Those not okay with that? We're going to proceed. Mr. House, I accept your seconder to that resolution. Is there any discussion now on the resolution? Mic number 2.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for accepting or seconding. Just to touch a little bit on this resolution, we all know there are some presidents, regional president, vice presidents, who are paid full-time by the province, the MNA, and who aren't in their office full-time. They hold second and probably third paid jobs or whatever. I think it's important that they're there to represent their people, answer any questions, inform people as to what's happening at the provincial level. So I support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, back to mic number 2. Please state your name.
Ken Browning, Region 6. I call question to the motion.
Sir, we have people still at the mic, so I can't accept it. Mic number 2.
So I'm speaking against the motion, even though I supported the seconder. Because I've served on council several times, presidents and regional directors, the amount they pay actually is disgusting. So you can't even make a living on the money that these elected people get. And so it's pretty nice that they do that. I mean, it's great that they want to spend time there, but it's not, you can't afford that. So you want quality people, you want people to have decent education to lead you, then you got to pay them right. So that's, because of the budget right now, that's not possible. The 169 doesn't make it possible. So I think at some point in time it would be great if our leadership were allowed to spend all the time doing this, but they need to be allowed to make a living and pay their bills and feed their families. That's my position.
Thank you. Mic number 3, and then back to mic number 2.
Audrey Kent, Region 4. I speak for the motion. I think that as we move forward into self-government, we need our leaders, our elected officials there on a full-time basis. And perhaps maybe once we get going with this, the regional councils can rediscuss the pay. So I speak towards the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mic number 2.
Marilyn Dumont, Region 4. I support the motion. One of my concerns is we don't even have a report from Region 4. And I'm a member. How do we know what's happening?
Mic number 2 again.
Corianne Morton, Region 1. I'm for and against this because who voted this man in? Obviously, a lot of people put a lot of trust into this man. And he should be diligently working for us to serve us. I understand this man has got so much talent and he's got a beautiful heart and big square. He could speak Cree, and that's something we all want. It'd be nice if he was teaching that to the people in the community as well.
Just as a point of order, though, ma'am.
Sorry.
This resolution is not speaking to anybody
Okay,
in particular.
sorry. My apologies. I'll say I don't agree because he should be working in the office and serving us. And the part that I don't agree with is the vice president having that much authority, because this is supposed to be a teamwork. There's executive council, there's vice presidents, there's secretaries. This is supposed to be for all of us. This isn't a one-man show. Audrey, are you a one-man show? So that's how I look at it. If you're going to serve us with respect by coming there and being in the office every day. And as far as I'm concerned, let it be a team effort rather than a one-man show.
Mic number 3, and then back to the mic number 2.
Thank you, Tracy Friedel, Region 4 President. I just wanted to say that we have been at Region 4 analyzing this, this matter with an employment lawyer, looking at the situation of whether or not elected officials are actually staff members and whether or not an ordinary resolution such as this one would even be legally valid. Notwithstanding that, I wanted to also let you know that the Region 4 annual report didn't make it into the MNA annual report. It was emailed to Rolando, and I did have a chat with him this morning, and he indicated he doesn't, you know, he had received it. We looked at the email together. He did say that he would report to the Assembly that it hadn't made it into the report by error. I'm not sure if he's done that, but I just wanted to let everyone know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mic number 2.
Yes, with regards to the drafting of the resolution, that preliminary part about the vice president, that's already in the bylaws. The only reason why it was put in there is so that the corresponding G section would add to what's already in there. So the only new thing that's being proposed is that our elected presidents devote their full-time energies to the position in which the citizens have entrusted them with. And that was the purpose of that resolution. I know in Zone 2, where I now reside, I can go to the regional office and our president is there. He's very active, he's accessible, he's devoted to the position to which he was elected. And being employed full-time elsewhere outside of that position, to me, is something in which, well, it's indicating basically that you're not devoted to representing the interests of your community and be in that position to do what's best for your community, because that's what you put your hat out there for. That's what you ran for, and it's a position of honor and trust. And so that's why that was there. And especially with the new developments that's happening with this organization, they're exciting. There's a lot of growth happening with the Métis Nation of Alberta Association, and I think that people who are elected into these positions should respect those positions fully and respect the citizens who voted them in. Thank you.
Can you just provide your name for the recorder? Please. You forgot to mention your name for the recorder.
Darlene St. Jean, Zone 2.
Perfect. Mic number 3.
Melanie Omenhio, Region 4. I'm elected as the national president for Métis Women in Canada. My office is in Ottawa. I don't have time to sit there every day, 5 days a week from 9 till 5. My job is out working with the governments and with various organizations and institutions to ensure Métis women's voice is out there. These are elected positions. These are not employees. Our elected leaders, and I do have confidence and trust, are working all over the place. They may not be in an office. We have staff that can sit in an office. When we elect an MLA or an MP, we're not expecting them to sit in a constituency office and wait for the electorate to come and visit them. These positions are positions of responsibility, and they need to be able to go out and do their job. Their job is not to sit and wait for somebody to come and see them. I encourage you guys to stop looking at elected official positions as employment positions and let our leaders be the leaders of the Métis Nation.
Mic number 2 and then back to number 3.
Ken Browning, Region 6. Mr. Chairman, please correct me if I'm right or wrong. It's my understanding that when question is called on a motion, we then vote on it so that we don't carry on all afternoon discussing that motion. Am I right or wrong?
You're wrong. And here's what it is. If you're looking at Robert's Rules of Order, when they call question, you know what question is? It's not a vote on the actual motion. The question is to the people, are you okay, because there's other people at the mic, are you okay cutting off discussion when there's other people at the mic that want to say something? That's what, in the sense of when you're talking about Robert's Rules of Order, that's what it says in there. But our self-government, we've always, before ask someone to call a question, we've always let the people at the mics have their say. You've seen me, I've cut people off at that mics because they've had more than enough to say, right? But sir, in our process, this is how we've been doing it.
Okay,
and I
thank
haven't
you.
strayed from it. Mic number 3.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I think it's frivolous to argue on this point here that it used to be that we have to remember we're a nation of an organization. We're not just a club, we're a nation, we're an organization. And when you get appointed or elected, your job is to serve that nation. And you shouldn't be accepting any other position because it'd be a conflict of interest no matter what you do, because you're dealing with all facts of life. So I would further recommend that it just be left the way it is because it's already covered. Because if we're serving under that, you can't hold another position. You got to stay away from it because, like I said, it'd be a conflict of interest. I think you should look at it from that point of view and do with the resolution as it is. Hi.
Thank you, sir. Mic number 2 and then mic number 1.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just want to help you with that bylaw, Robert's Rules of Bylaws. We call question to actually ask, is there any last question? So when we say question, we're looking around. If there's none, let's get on with the business. So we've often said, okay, we got question call, let's vote. But really, we're looking to see if there is a question.
Mic number 1.
Karen Collins, Region 2. So in the spirit of our movement to self-government, this is a good point of starting to discuss and food for thought for us as we get consulted in this process in our communities. We're starting to identify what it is that we're going to be looking for in leaders. And I'm going to speak in favor of this because in my mind, I'm seeing this as part of our process of self-government. And we know we're 91 years old. We know that in the past, there have been various ways and means that leaders of the past addressed their responsibilities in their capacity as leaders. Being a former regional president, that's a 24/7 job. Your phone rings at any given time when people are in need of something. So if we're going to start developing things like job descriptions and our expectations of our leaders, those are good thoughts because that's going to be part of our process of moving towards self-government is what are we actually going to be expecting of our leaders? What are some of the responsibilities that they should be doing? Because indeed, there are things that as the leader of particular societies, because we're all independent societies, there's certain responsibilities that have to be upheld in regards to those societies. And so those are the kind of things that we need to be starting to think about, talk about, address as we move forward. So Mr. Chair, I speak in favor of this.
Thank you. Mic number 4, then mic number 2. Mic number 1.
Brian Hamlin, Region 3. I'd like to speak against this motion. If one particular region is having a little problem with their president, then there should be other remedies, and it's right in our bylaws for removal of that person. To deny that person, whoever they are, the right to be employed doing something else, say they're a volunteer firefighter in the evenings and they get employed, they get paid for that. To deny them that opportunity to serve their community is wrong. And I don't think this is proper to place on their responsibilities. Thank you.
So just before we get to mic number 1, I just want to let you know there's a gray Corolla CVY 323. You're blocking traffic, and you may get your vehicle towed unless you move it. So if you could, mic number 1.
Good afternoon. My name is Bev New, Métis Nation, Region 5. I speak in favor of the motion, and I'll tell you why. I was the president of Region 5 for 19 years, and in the last term, there was 3 months where I slept in my bed twice in 3 months. So I know when we put our heart into our Métis Nation, and when we put our people before ourselves, then we work for our people, and we work effortlessly, and we work tirelessly. I believe also we have responsibilities as a regional council as well to make job descriptions. And as Casey said, in the past, yes, we can look at that in our governance structure, but at this time, I'm one of always believing that we are here to serve our people. We are here to move our Métis Nation forward. And if you're going to take a political position, I would hope that you're doing it in the best interest of the people and that your commitment is with our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Nobody at the mics. Do I hear question? Question's been called. Ron Harrison, you ready? All in favor of special resolution number 3, please raise your hand. Keep it raised until they tell you to put it down. Keep them raised. Like I say, it's very important we capture these numbers because this is part of our self-government. Keep your hands up until they've counted you. We're almost there. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. There's some folks there that still have their hands up. Okay, yep. Okay, we'll just give them a minute to get those numbers in and to take their positions here again. So take your spots again, counters. Take your spots again. It's not over yet. Take your spots. Okay. Those opposed, please raise your hand and keep it raised. Those opposed, keep your hands raised. Okay, they got you. They got you already. Okay, they're going to make their count. And then Ron Harrison will bring us the breakdown of the 75% and what's required based on the number of people that voted. So just to get ready, next will be Vice President Dan Cardinal and his report. So Danny, if you could kind of get yourself ready, make your way up.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Did I miss something on the regular resolutions?
Yes, they are going to happen after now so that we can give people time to write them up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're just waiting for Ron Harrison and his count. As you know, it takes 75% to pass. And this is something that's really, at least in my head, you guys know that I have a lot of things in my head, but I've always thought of us never as an organization or a nonprofit society. I've always lived self-government in my head. So we're a nation, right? And this is us practicing our self-government. eventually the laws that we have in our bylaws, when we have self-government and we're developing legislation, a lot of those bylaws will turn into legislation. And you guys, throughout the years, you guys have been making that happen. So we've been practicing. Every time we change a bylaw and have that debate, that's healthy debate. That's us getting prepared for the debate we're going to have when we start to really develop legislation. Ron Harrison, are you close? And Ron is a whip at this. He can figure everything out. He goes to an auction, he can tell you the price for. So, folks, there were 242 votes cast. The number needed for 75% is 181. And here's the numbers. For the resolution, 208. Against, 34. Can you hand them in to the recording secretary, please? She's over here. Ron? She's over here. All right. So that's the special resolution portion. Now we're going to get out of that legislative mode that we've been in, and now we're back to simple motions and simple resolutions. So Dan will do his report. We'll ask for a motion and a seconder to accept it, and then we'll go through the agenda further. So without further ado, Dan Cardinal, I'd like to thank Terry Antonello and Tyler Fetch and the work of the Special Resolutions Committee. Let's give them a big hand, guys. And now your Vice President for the Métis Nation of Alberta, Dan Cardinal.
Thank you. Kakyo anoskagi saga kitatamskat nawaw. Tanse, ninanaskomon kakyo kawichi tek. What I said is, I am grateful to stand here, bring you greetings, and I'm thankful to be given the opportunity to serve you all. After being sworn in on October 18th, 2018, I worked out of the Region 1 office in Lac-La-Biche until January of 2019, when I was able to relocate to Edmonton. Since then, I have worked out of the provincial office, and I brought on Brenda Burke-Stratichuk as my executive advisor. Over the last year, I had the privilege of traveling to every region in the province to assist in celebrations, chair AGMs, facilitate consultation protocol agreements, and participate in community rallies. One such rally was at Rocky Mountain House, successfully opposing the proposed change to the Bighorn County. I am encouraged to see the many accomplishments of our leaders advancing our nation and its citizens. I am privileged to get to work with citizens across the province on concerns ranging from medical needs to housing issues. I have met with numerous local councils to navigate their governance roles and to support the many good causes and great work they provide for their respective communities. Our staff, affiliates, and provincial council have been extremely busy involving our citizens in events such as the Youth and Seniors Gathering, the Métis Land Rights and Script Conference, Alberta Métis Fest celebrations, the 6th Annual Business Mixer, and various health forums. I want to acknowledge the citizens who shared their personal cancer journeys with us at the Canadian Partnerships Against Cancer, organized by our Health, Children and Youth Department in March of this year. These experiences will help Métis Albertans navigate the cancer control system following a diagnosis. Our relationships with municipal, provincial, and federal governments are extremely important. I am honored to represent our nation at tables with all levels of government through the Métis homeland, wherever the meeting it is clear that mutual respect exists between these governing bodies and our nation. The opportunity to reach agreements on matters important to our citizens is now achievable through relationships. As a provincial leader, one of my responsibilities is to work with the Métis National Council. The MNC is the political body representing Métis citizens across the homeland. In the 3 provinces, British Columbia, parts of Ontario, the Northwest Territories, and the Northern United States. Discussions surrounding Section 35 rights, climate change, permanent bilateral mechanism, and Métis rights remain at the forefront of our work. For several years, I have been responsible for portfolios in culture, where I continue to represent the nation as a board member on both Métis Crossing and the Indigenous Languages Advisory Committee. Métis Crossing has received overwhelming financial support from the provincial and federal governments and corporate private sector. I encourage everyone to visit the site and see firsthand how it is being transformed into a premier cultural gathering center. The Indigenous Advisory Language Committee is responsible for planning curriculum addressing reconciliation in kindergarten to grade 12 classrooms throughout the province. Our board includes representatives for Alberta Education, the Métis, First Nations, and Inuit. I am pleased to report that the federal government is supporting the Métis Nation of Alberta in this initiative, which will be administered via Rupert's Land. As I reflect over my first year with Madam President Patra, I can honestly say it has been a rewarding and enjoyable experience, and I admire her wealth of knowledge and integrity. Daily, Audrey brings sound guidance and leadership to all the situations and tasks we deal with. Therefore, it is with great confidence that I report to you Madam President Patra has been stellar in every way she conducts herself as our leader. I look forward to meeting the objectives you, the citizens, set forth in this, the 91st Assembly. Thank you. Marcin de Tuan, Epsimaga.
Thank you for your annual report, Vice President Cardinal. Can we have a motion to accept Vice President Cardinal's report? Mike 1, I think.
Hello. James Atkinson, Region 4. I make the motion to accept the Provincial Vice President's report.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Ken Browning, Region 6. I second the report.
Thank you. Any questions? If no questions, those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? I declare the motion carried. Thank you, Vice President.
Hey, we're just going to sneak in a couple of raffle draws here right now. And Danny, we need you to draw some names, and RLI is coming up as well. So the first one is Métis Child and Family Services. So if you've put your name in here, you're eligible for this. And we're going to get VP Dan Cardinal to draw. Danny? All right. So for this basket here, ta-da, she was just up at the mic, Bev New, 849-8843. Where are you, Bev? You got yourself a basket. Come on up here and get it. Now we have Rupert's Land Institute, and Dan's going to make some draws too, so I spoke to you earlier about it. So there's one from the presentation yesterday, and this is going to be for what? For backpacks. Okay. We have 2 of them. This is for for the backpacks?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for the backpacks. We're going to make 2 draws. Danny? So the first one is Grace Wills from Calgary. Grace? We have her number. We'll make sure she gets it. And the second one for the backpack is Brian Fayant. But Brian with a Y. He's got like, okay. That is Brian Fayant. I thought there was another one, Brian, because yours, I always thought it was with an I. I was going to say 2. You can pick up, you want a backpack? No, the backpack, it's at RLI booth. Yeah, RLI booth. The booth out there, yeah. The booth. Okay, so if you have a child, this is good, probably they're going to love you for this. This is for Xbox Live gift certificate. And the winner is, geez, I know this guy too, Preston Yuppie, or Huppy. Preston, where are you? I know him as Yuppie. You guys know Preston? Where is he? Preston, you've won a subscription, or a 1-year subscription. Okay, next. This is for the actual Xbox itself, the game console. And the winner is Landon Atkinson. Landon, where's Landon? There? All right, you won the Xbox. You can pick that up at the RLI booth. Just take them this and claim it. This is for the TV and the sound bar. Okay, so the TV's from Rupert's Land and the sound bar's from Appy. Oh man, you won't believe this. Bruce Gladu. No, I'm kidding you. It's actually Gail Gladu with no E. Gail Gladu. Gail, where are you? You won yourself a TV and a sound bar. They'll make sure they get it. I had you guys all go in though, didn't I? Okay, those are the draws. Anything else? Okay, so it's back to business again. The Secretary, the Summary of Motions, Carol Ridsdale, Secretary for the Métis Nation of Alberta Provincial Council, will be delivering her report.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 91st Annual General Meeting. Following the elections in October 2018, it has been my honor to serve as the Secretary for your Provincial Council, and it is with pride that I am able to share with you the Secretary's report for 2018 and 2019 calendar year. I recognize that through some of the motions and business reports from year to year can be tedious work, so I will do my best to keep it concise and to the point. And I have my glasses on so I could see. So you should all have a copy in your AGA report. So Special Resolution number 1 was defeated. Special Resolution number 2 was defeated. Special Resolution number 3 was defeated. Special Resolution number 4 was defeated. Special Resolution number 5 was defeated. Special Resolution number 6 was defeated. On to ordinary resolutions. So resolution number 1 was carried. With respect to the pipeline support, on May 23rd, 2019, the MNA was one of the many Indigenous groups who traveled to Ottawa with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in support of the Trans Mountain Expansion Day. The objective of that day was to advocate for this important economic project and to provide the Government of Canada with the cross-country, cross-sector political and media support it requires to take the necessary steps to get the TMX project built. The day was spent advocating in favor of the TMX project in a series of meetings on Parliament Hill, as well as media outreach activities. These meetings helped demonstrate to elected officials the broad range of Canadians and Canadian businesses who support this project. The MNA continues to demonstrate support for the TMX pipeline, and having been able to identify project impacts to Métis Section 35 rights, the Métis traditional land use activities within the expansion footprint is preparing to engage the proponent in mitigation and accommodation remedies to remedy those impacts. With respect to the MNA equity position in the project, the MNA has been approached by several of the Indigenous groups vying for purchase of the TMX pipeline from the federal government. The MNA will continue to monitor progress on the purchase efforts and evaluate options available when a decision is made on the sale. Regardless, the MNA will make every effort to ensure our citizens are the beneficiaries of the business opportunities that become available and the long-term sustainable funding TMX equity ownership will provide for the Métis Nation. Ordinary Resolution number 2. The resolution was ruled out of order by the Chair. Ordinary Resolution number 3 was also ruled out of order by the Chair. Ordinary Resolution number 4, the resolution on self-government. So those of you who were able to attend yesterday's workshop can see that we are well underway to creating a Métis Nation of Alberta Constitution. President Patra and the legal team talked about the agreements and the direction we are headed. Awesome and exciting times for the Métis. Ordinary Resolution number 5, the Provisional Youth Council. In response to the ordinary resolution brought forward at the 90th Annual General Assembly on August 11th and 12th in Lac La Biche, the Provincial Office of the Métis Nation of Alberta hired 6 full-time regional project coordinators to work out of each of the 6 regional offices. These roles were established to assist with the development, coordination, and implementation of the Métis youth programs and services throughout the respective MNA regions, including cultural enrichment and life skills programming for Métis youth, as well as the development of a youth network to connect Métis youth to one another, fostering a sense of community and belonging among the Métis youth in Alberta. Additionally, the regional project coordinators work to increase provincial and regional program accessibility in consultation with the regional Métis community. They conduct cultural presentations for communities and stakeholders within the region and promote youth registry with the Métis Nation of Alberta by assisting Métis youth wanting to access MNA programming with their application packages. So the following is a list of current MNA regional youth coordinators. You probably have met some of them over the weekend. So in Region 1, we have Emily McMillan, Region 2, Sarah Johnson. Region 3, Kristen Acuna. Region 4, Madison Quintel. Region 5, Bev Lambert. And Region 6, Erin Renge. Let's give them a big hand. They've been doing lots of work. You know, youth are so important to who we are as a nation. They're our future leaders. Ordinary Resolution 6, the resolution was defeated. Ordinary Resolution 7 was carried, and Mr. John Phillips provided his report earlier on MJC and what's been done to date. Ordinary Resolution number 8 was an amended resolution. At the 90th Annual General Assembly on August 11th and August 12th, there was an ordinary resolution passed for the development of youth programs and a services department. It is our pleasure to announce that the Health, Children and Youth Department will become 3 departments moving forward. With this change, there will be 3 director opportunities available for both internal and external applicants. So there's positions for Director of Health, Director of Youth Programs and Services, and a Director of Children and Family Services. So if you have any questions regarding these positions, please contact our Human Resources Office. Ordinary Resolution 9, as today's agenda, a Cree translator has been appointed. To close off, I want to thank you for your patience and attention while working through this record of business and updates from the MNA from the past year. And it's been my pleasure to serve as your Provincial Secretary. That concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your annual report, Carol Ridsdale. Can we have a mover to accept the Secretary Carol Ridsdale annual report?
Ken Brown in Region 6, I move to accept the Secretary's report.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Right here. Make one.
Make one.
Yeah. Wally Garrick, Region 3. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any questions? There being no questions, please raise your hand, those in favor of the motion. Thank you. Any opposed? I declare the motion carried. Next on the agenda is the Treasurer's report. Is Lawrence Gervais present?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Our treasurer is Mr. Lawrence Gervais. He's fallen ill and he was not able to attend this weekend. However, we are going to still go ahead with the audit and the treasurer's report as usual, just without Lawrence here.
Perfect.
I don't know. They're in the bags.
So you will find the financial reports in your bags, in your information packets. So I'll give you a moment to dig them out. So for the finance, as mentioned, Lawrence Gervais is not available. We have Ryan from the MNA Finance. We have Ruben Jeffries from the Auditor, and Aaron Barner, SEO for MNA.
Can we get the clicker for the PowerPoint?
last call for the ticket on the basket, the number being 562627. The green ticket. Anytime you want to start, Ruben?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ruben Jeffrey. I'm a partner with Kingston Ross Pasnuck. What we've done is we've prepared a short presentation as we do every year. First off, I'd like to just say thank you to everyone at the Métis Nation and the staff. The audit period is a very hard period. Everyone works really hard on it to get this final product out to everyone. The presentation, what we're going to do is it's an analysis of the last 5 years of financial statements. You're going to see a lot of growth this year. In your package, everyone should have the entire financial statements, which is about 95 pages. We didn't make 100 pages this year, but we were pretty darn close. The only page that relates to me, that belongs to me, is the audit opinion, and I'm going to just read that right now. We have audited the financial statements. I'm just going to read our opinion, which is the top paragraph. We have audited the financial statements of the Métis Nation of Alberta, the nation, which comprises the statement of financial position as at March 31st, 2019, and the statements of operations, changes in net assets, and cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the Métis Nation as at March 31st, 2019, and the results of its operations and its cash flow for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. This was signed in Edmonton on July 4th by us. Okay, so if I just will start my presentation. Who's got the clicker? Okay. The first slide is a comparison of revenue. First thing you're going to notice is that there's a great big spike there. So in the year on March 31st, 2019, the total revenue for Métis Nation of Alberta was $43,805,000. Compared to 2018, you can see on 2018, which was a big year, the total revenue in 2018 was $11,506,000. This is an increase of approximately $32.3 million, which is, this is the biggest amount of revenue that I've ever seen with the Métis Nation over the last 20, 25 years. Okay, click. Second slide is a pie chart that shows the amount of funding by program. Okay. There are 61 departments that make up the largest component of the funding for the Métis Nation of Alberta. This is totals $34.6 million. If you take a look on the slide, you can see the portion that is for core, framework, and governance. And we've basically put those ones in because those are the typical ones that have been around for the many years. The housing department is the single largest department in revenue generation this year. The housing program includes federal funding for the planning and implementation of the Métis housing strategy. The Métis Crossing project is the second largest single department of revenue generated this year. The Métis Crossing project program includes a provincial funding for the construction of the 10,000 square foot facility out at Métis Crossing. The Early Learning and Early Childcare Department is the third largest department in revenue generation this year. The Early Learning and Childcare program includes federal funding to create network of program offerings and address the needs of the Métis children and parents across diverse communities. If you hit it. This graph is a comparison of expenditures. Now, as I mentioned previously, the revenue went up significantly. Well, because this is a not-for-profit organization, the expenses have increased significantly as well. So the total expenses this year are $42.057 million versus last year it was $10.9 million. This is an increase of $31.1 million. If you click the slide. This slide is an analysis, a pie chart of expenditures. So out of the $42 million in expenditures this year, $35 million was on project costs and then another 5.6 million is on wages, and 1.2 million is on travel. Click that. This is a 5-year comparison of the surplus. So for the year ended March 31st, 2019, the Métis Nation had a surplus of $1.748 million. The Métis Nation began the year with a cumulative operating surplus of $5.2 million, and with an additional surplus of $1.7 million this year. Now there's a total surplus of just over $7 million. Click it. We now have 5 slides which represent the operational surplus and deficits for certain programs over the last 5 years. The first one is the core operations. As you can see, the total revenue in core was $2.4 million and the total expenses were $700,000. And this is where the surplus occurred. There's a $1.737 million surplus in this department. Okay. This is a framework department, and this one is pretty consistent. The biggest thing to note is that the total revenue in the framework department was $1.498 million this year, and it has been for the last several years, and that's what was spent in this department. Click it. Tripartite has also been very consistent. There's been $300,000 of federal funding and $300,000 of provincial funding over the last several years. The governance department is the other category where there's a small surplus this year. The total funding in the governance department was $5.2 million, 5.219, and the total expenses were 5.208. This is about a $10,000 surplus. Okay. This slide shows a 5-year comparison of the salaries and benefits for the Métis Nation of Alberta. This year, there was close to $5.7 million in wages and benefits paid out. Last year it was only $3.9 million, and the year before that it was $2.8. This slide is a comparison of travel. The travel costs this year are $1.2 million. 2018, it was $760,000, and the year before that it was $589,000. This slide is a summary of the source of where the funding came from. And this is kind of an interesting one. You can take a look at this year, in the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2019. Of the total funding that the Métis Nation of Alberta received, 75% of the funding came from the federal government, 22% came from the provincial government, and 3% came from other sources. This concludes our presentation.
Thank you for the report. Do we have a mover to accept the financial report?
Wally Garrick, Region 3, moves the motion.
Do I have a seconder to accept?
Brian Hamlin, Region 3, I second.
Any questions? There being no questions, those in favor of accepting the auditor's report and financial statements for 2018-2019, please raise your hands. Okay, any opposed? I declare the motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we'll continue on with the agenda. We have, first of all, I'd like to thank the auditor and the finance folks for working on that. Let's give them a big hand. Ruben. So there's 2 things we need to do. Actually, one thing we need to do, and I was remiss in this, is that when we were talking about the Special Resolutions Committee, last year, they reappointed the committee that showed up today, that did the work today. And it was brought to my attention that we have to have these appointments remade now. So rather than us calling up the regional leadership to say, who do you recommend? What we'll do is I will ask the regional leadership that when you guys make a determination as to who your special resolutions person is for next year, that you just let the Métis Nation of Alberta know, Tyler Fetch, and Tyler will compile that, and we'll make sure that they're brought together at the next AGA. So we're going to continue on right now with the ordinary resolutions. And so this is the part, remember where I mentioned that we don't require 75%, we just require 51%. And this is where citizens come up and they basically have a matter they want the MNA to address. And we're going to start off here with, over here, mic number 4, your name. And once you've read out your resolution and you have a seconder, then if we ask you if you could bring that up here to me, and then if there's any questions as to wording or whatever, I'll be able to answer them. And then when I'm done with it after the vote, I will give that paper copy to the recording secretary so that we have it for our records. Mic number 4, then mic number 3.
Jeanette Hansen, Region 3. Whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta's governance structure is made up of local, regional, and provincial councils as per Article 12.1 of the Métis Nation of Alberta bylaws, whereas the objective of the Métis Nation of Alberta is to develop prosperity and economic self-sufficiency within the Métis Nation of Alberta as per Article 1.6 of the Métis Nation of Alberta bylaws, whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta stands as the political representative of all Métis within Alberta as per Article 1.2 of the Métis Nation of Alberta bylaws, whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta has signed the Métis Government Recognition and Self-Government Agreement, which outlines a process of obtaining a fiscal financing agreement. Therefore, be it resolved that this annual General Assembly direct the Métis Nation of Alberta to provide reasonable capacity funding for local councils in good standing.
Do we have a seconder for that? Your name, please?
Brian Lazat, Region 3.
Okay, we have an ordinary resolution on the floor. A mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion on it? There's nobody at the mics. Question's been called. All in favor of that resolution, please raise your hand. Those opposed? That motion is passed. Thank you. Do we have any other ordinary resolutions or motions to present to this annual meeting? Mic number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brian Fan, Region 1. So this motion, I'll read it to you. It says, to create a policy and regulation bylaw. Whereas the Métis Nation bylaws are limited in their definition and descriptions and intentionally, whereas the bylaws are not meant to get into details and translations, whereas there is a need to provide clear understanding of the bylaws, whereas policy and regulations provide clarity, direction, and definition of bylaws, therefore be it resolved that the MNA create a policy bylaw and regulation bylaw, as well as that the Métis Nation shall consult its councils regarding policy and regulations, as moved by myself. And I had asked Mr. Cardinal, Jim Cardinal, if he'd second it.
Okay, we have a mover on an ordinary resolution. Do we have the seconder? If I could just get you at the mic. I can't accept it that way, sir. You have to be at a mic with your name, please. Mic number 1, and then mic number 3. Mic number 1.
Jim Cardinal, Region 1 President. I second the resolution.
Okay,
and
we
if
have that.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I'll just add this piece to it. It just says that this is the first reading, so should this regular resolution be accepted, it'd be like a first reading. The second reading should go before Provincial Council so that they can review it, assess it, and analyze whether this is whether it's useful and how it applies to the bylaws. And the third reading would be at the Assembly when we come back with a special resolution that, having done the research and findings, we are now putting a proper special resolution next year.
So we're just, actually what we're doing now, Brian, is we're voting on the motion. We're not voting on the process that you just outlined. That would be part of the administration of it. Is there any discussion on it? Mic number 3.
Melanie Omenhio, Region 4. Could you please read that resolution again?
Yeah.
Because it's very convoluted now.
Yeah, so Brian, if you could bring it up here, we could read it from here. Or unless you want to take another cut at it there yourself. Okay, so this is a motion to create a policy and regulation bylaw. And the hope is that if this is created, that it would go through a process that would eventually come back to the annual meeting to insert into our bylaws as a special resolution. So whereas the Métis Nation bylaws are limited in their definition and description and intentionally, whereas the bylaws are not meant to get into details of translation, and whereas there is a need to provide clear understanding of the bylaws, whereas policy and regulations provide clarification, direction, and definition of bylaws, therefore be it resolved that the Métis Nation of Alberta create a policy bylaw and a regulation bylaw, as well that the Métis Nation shall consult with its councils regarding policy and regulations. Moved by Brian Fayant, seconded by Jim Cardinal. That was the motion that has been introduced. Is there any discussion on this? Mic number 3.
Melanie Omenhio, Region 4 again. I'm going to suggest that they take that resolution back because it's not making any sense at this point and it doesn't incorporate what they're trying to do. And they need to rewrite it so that it's clear and concise so we know exactly what the outcome of that resolution will be when we vote on it.
So here's my dilemmas. I could ask them if they want to take this back and readjust it before this piece of the meeting is over and then reintroduce it again. Or are you comfortable letting this go to a vote? Because for me, that's my option. Is either to have you guys rewrite it before it comes to a vote, or we vote on it, because that's the only way to get rid of it. Okay, so if there's no more, I leave that up to yourselves. Mic number 2, Mr. Fayant.
Usually if Melanie doesn't understand it, it's probably not clear to anybody else except me. Yeah. So my sense is I could try to explain it, but I think it's probably wise to have it properly written up. So to make it clear, yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to clarify, just to give you guys an example. So when you're thinking about this piece, when you look at the bylaws, anytime you get new elected members coming before council, they come in there and not understanding their role and their function. And so you have, I'm not saying they're confused, it's not clear. So when you have a government, they have underneath your laws, you have a set of policies and you have a set of regulations. Those pieces clarify how you interpret the bylaws. That's what that was trying to do. But it didn't do that. I think Melanie didn't feel that. So that's the intent.
So would you prefer to withdraw it, or would you like it to go to a vote? Brian?
Brian, no, Jim Cardinal, Region 1 President. Brian and I discussed it, and exactly what he says is about to have a guide in what our bylaws and policies mean. It's like an extra book of where it would explain that certain bylaw. Like 23.2 means whatever it does, right? I'm just putting a number here. And then this book would explain what it really means rather than everybody just goes and says whatever it means. So we have a guide, and that's what this resolution's about. So if you, I take a chance. What do you think?
Well, you know what?
We'll rewrite it.
Okay, I think Melanie's right. That's the problem. This requires some discussion and debate and a proper paper presented on it so that we can then put it into a resolution. I think with that, we'll withdraw that because we need to present it properly. Thanks.
Does the seconder agree to that? Can you get up to the mic, please, Mr. Cardinal? I know it's a formality, but it's,
I just love waving.
you agree to withdraw?
Jim Cardinal, Region 1, I agree with that.
Perfect, okay. That is withdrawn. Are there any other resolutions? Mike number 3.
Brett Cherno, Region 3. This is being presented on behalf of the Provisional Youth Council. This is to address some issues that we've actually personally run into through these assemblies. This motion is to make changes and pass a special resolution to make changes to the process of submitting the special resolutions to give more time if there's a mistake made in your special resolution. So 2 years ago, we put up a special resolution and we made a mistake in it. And it didn't get caught till right before the voting, and we had to wait a full year for that to be voted on again. Now, this would grant you a grace period where you would have a little bit of time.
So are you introducing an ordinary resolution, or
Yes.
are you introducing a special resolution?
I'm introducing an ordinary resolution to create a special resolution. All right, so whereas the current process for submission and review of special resolutions to the Métis Nation of the Alberta Assembly is not clearly or explicitly defined within the MNA bylaws, and whereas in the past resolutions are submitted and reviewed without any opportunity for submitters to address any aspects of their submission that may result in the resolution being deemed invalid. Therefore, be it resolved that this Assembly directs the MNA to identify necessary changes to the MNA bylaws to ensure the process and timelines for submission, review, and approval of special resolutions are clearly defined, including an option for submitters to revisit and resubmit resolutions prior to the specified submission deadline for consideration by the annual Assembly of the Métis Nation of Alberta, and bring those changes to the next AGA in the form of a special resolution.
Can you bring your motion up? Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Jason Cherno, Region 3. I second this motion.
Perfect. Do we have any discussion on this? Question's been called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is carried. The youth. Power to the youth. Power to the youth. Any more resolutions for today? Mike number 3.
Hi, Megan Claude from Region 2. We have another resolution from closer, okay.
Yep.
Sorry. We have another resolution from the Youth Council that we're bringing forward. And this is whereas the center of MNA governance structure is I'm reading it the wrong spot. Whereas any assembly or meeting of the Métis Nation is assumed to include an expectation of professionalism, respect, and common courtesy, which is not documented and therefore not enforceable. And whereas citizens have expressed concern regarding the conduct of citizens during the MNA annual assemblies that they consider inappropriate and a deterrent to their participation. Therefore, be it resolved that this assembly directs the Métis Nation of Alberta to design an annual assembly code of conduct to be presented to the 2020 MNA Assembly. Therefore, be it also resolved that the code of conduct shall also include a means of enforcement during an assembly to ensure that this code is maintained during gatherings. Therefore, be it also resolved that the MNA will consider any necessary changes to the MNA bylaws to ensure that the code of conduct is enforceable.
Okay, can you bring that up as well? Folks, you've heard that. Is there any discussion on it? We have a seconder first, yes.
Jason Cherno, Region 3. I second this motion.
Perfect. Any discussion on it? Mike number 2.
Ben House, Region 1. I'd like to introduce an ordinary resolution.
Ben,
for
we're
the
on
Assembly.
a vote. You're not speaking to this motion? No. Okay. If there's no questions then, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed?
Bruce?
Yes. Where?
Over here. Karen Collins.
Oh, yes.
Could you just, now that you get the paper in hand, could you just reiterate that? Because there was noise and I'm not even quite sure what we just passed, but now that it's already passed, because you acknowledge it, can you tell us what we just passed?
It was a vote on a code of conduct for the annual general meetings that the MNA develop one, and that it have some, well here, I'll just read it again for you, and it is passed, by the way. Whereas the center of the MNA governance structure is the annual general assembly, and whereas any assembly or meeting of the Métis Nation is assumed to include an expectation of professionalism, respect, and common courtesy, which is not documented and therefore not enforceable. And whereas citizens have expressed concern regarding the conduct of citizens regarding the MNA annual assemblies that they consider inappropriate and a deterrent to their participation. Therefore, be it resolved that this assembly directs the MNA to design an annual assembly code of conduct to be presented to the 2020 MNA Assembly. Therefore, be it also resolved that the code of conduct shall include a means of enforcement during an assembly to ensure that this code is maintained during gatherings. Therefore, be it also resolved that the MNA consider any necessary changes to the MNA bylaws to ensure that code of conduct is enforceable. So that was passed, and just for yourselves right now, how do we maintain that decorum and that enforcement is through the chair currently and through the sergeant at arms. But to have this actually in a code, it's going to make that job a lot more easier. So that is what the youth just proposed, and that is what just passed. Do we have any more resolutions or motions from the floor? Mic number 3.
Melanie Omenhio, Region 4. This is not a resolution, but a point of order. We just passed with the youth on issues around how resolutions need to be dealt with, and we had in previous assemblies identified who we were going to appoint the resolutions committees prior to the following year, and we have not appointed or reappointed people to be on the resolutions committee for the 2020 assembly.
And so, Melanie, you may have missed this for the second time, but I did raise that, and this is what I said. Because we didn't do that, what I'm asking for now is each region to contact the Métis Nation of Alberta with their appointments for the resolutions committee so that we can inform them, and they're here for next year to review, just like they did this year, right?
But we should be doing that off this floor as we've done in the past so that we know who our resolution committee member is.
And if the leadership is here, I'm all for it, right? So Region 1, is Region 1 leadership here? James? Is James still here? Region 2, Dwayne's not here. Andrea's here. Region 3, Lawrence is not here. Region 4, I'm not sure, is Tracy still here? Okay, we have Region 4 here. Region 5, Elmer's not here. And Region 6, Carol. So that's why I suggested they're going to make that appointment anyway. So when they're able to confirm that, they can contact the Métis Nation of Alberta, and that's how we're going to deal with that. We're going to continue on now with, are there any other motions or resolutions that need to be brought forward? Mic number 2.
Ben House, Region 1. I'd like to introduce an ordinary resolution. Whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta's governance structure is made up of Métis citizens, locals, regions, and provincial council. And whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta bylaws contains the rules and regulations for the establishment of a local council within the governance structure of the Métis Nation of Alberta. Therefore, be it resolved that this Assembly direct the Métis Nation of Alberta to create a committee in each Métis region comprised of Métis citizens to develop an accountability policy in accordance with our MNA bylaws. Moved by Ben House.
Can you bring that up here, Ben? And do we have a seconder for that? Just make it up to one of the mics. Mic number 2.
I'll second that.
And your name, sir?
My name is Brian Fayan from Region 1, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right. So we have a motion on the floor. And just for consistency, I'm going to read it out again so you're aware. Whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta's governance structure is made up of the Métis citizens, locals, regions, and the provincial council. And whereas the Métis Nation of Alberta bylaws contains the rules and regulations for the establishment of a local council within the governance structure of the Métis Nation of Alberta. Therefore, be it resolved that this Assembly direct the Métis Nation of Alberta to create a committee in each Métis region comprised of Métis citizens to develop an accountability policy in accordance with our MNA bylaws. Moved by Ben House, seconded by Brian Fayant from Region 1. Is there any discussion on this motion? If I hear questions been called. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is carried. And if we have no more resolutions, I just want to thank the folks that submitted their resolutions. I've not seen such good penmanship since Mrs. McDonald in my 3rd grade. So congratulations. Okay, you know what, folks? If you look at your agenda and we have no more resolutions on the table, our business function is really concluded. Because if you look, on Sunday is a continued business meeting, but we won't have to do it because we finalized it today. So I know this is short notice, but I'm going to call up Madame Patras to have the closing remarks for this piece. And at mic number 3.
Melanie Omenhill, Region 4, and I know you guys get annoyed with me always being at the mic, but I do want to bring to your attention, and it was a previous resolution from a previous assembly where the resolution committees are supposed to accept both special and ordinary resolutions. Ordinary resolutions are supposed to make their way to the presentation to be put up on the boards so people can read them and be prepared for so that we don't have this confusion at the thing. I mean, we're talking about things in resolutions like the previous resolution where you want to make locals accountable. Locals have no money, no support, no capacity. We can't even make the provincial council and the regions accountable who have a lot more support and capacity, but yet we don't have that stuff up there to be able to talk about the issues. So we need to go back and implement the resolutions from previous assemblies, have the resolutions committee accept all these resolutions and put them on the board and be respected and appreciated.
Now, just to qualify a little bit of that, I totally agree that we have to have some decorum that
Bruce?
way.
Ben House from Region 1.
But Mr. House,
I don't know why she's challenging you.
Sir, it's not. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. If you have a seat, I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
You're totally right, ma'am. We have to follow that decorum, but that's what self-government is all about. We're introducing rules. It takes a little while for them to get into practice. And now that we know that it's not just ordinary or special resolutions, that it should be the ordinary ones as well, that means you citizens now have to take some responsibility for that, and that you have to have them before we even start the meeting so that they can be submitted to the resolutions committee. Okay, so that in itself, a process, is going to take a little while for us to get used to that. So let's just relax a little bit, and self-government's going to come, as will these business rules that will come with it as well. So, Mr. House, if you have another resolution, we're done with it. We're past that. I had made a call that...
I'd just like to make a closing comment, Bruce, okay, please?
But sir...
it's a message for all the Métis people attending this assembly.
That's perfect, but you know what? I would be remiss, sir, if I was to allow that. Then someone else would want to stand up and make a message as well. So we're done that. That was an opportunity during this whole assembly for you to have that opportunity. We're just going to continue now with the next phase of this, and that's the closing ceremonies. So Ben, if you want to come in, if you have something you think that's important for everybody to say, try to talk to as many of them as you can, okay? Because right now is not a time for a political statement. We're done that. We're now at the end of our business meeting, and so we're just going to continue. So thank you, Ben, for all the political statements and the little contributions you made with your resolutions. We're going to continue on now, and thank you for respecting our process.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President? Now, getting back to this, after this closing comments, my job and Lionel's job is pretty well done. And so I want to thank you personally again for voting, or not even voting, for acclaiming me and Lionel as your chairs and vice chairs. Because truly, that's what keeps you coming back, is when you know that you're doing a good job and the people see that and they're confident in that. And so that means a lot to me. So I want to say thank you again for being such a good annual General Assembly crowd. And the fact that we made it another year, I thank the Lord, and I pray that we all make it back to our next assembly as well. So from me to you, peace and love. Thank you. Madam President.
Hello again. I came back, and I can speak for about 3 hours because we have lots of time. No, I'm just kidding. I do want to take an opportunity to thank you all very, very much. I think we've had a good assembly. You've certainly provided direction that we need to now go back and think about how do we make all those things happen, and that's good. I want to remind everyone that there was a raffle out there for the fires. Region 6 has, and I don't even know, where's Carol? They still have tickets available for the Oilers picture out there. So if anybody else wants them before they close up, they're still there. Are you drawing tonight? She's going to draw tonight at the banquet. So I wanted to remind you of that. Of course, we are finished our meeting, so we won't go into a meeting tomorrow. But anybody that's staying and enjoying the banquet, the awards, the dance tonight, there will still be a breakfast here tomorrow morning. So come by and have something to eat before you head out, for sure. Other than that, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been a great assembly with a lot of direction, and I know we've had a lot of opportunities to visit as well. So thank you very much. We will actually ask Norma to come up and do a closing prayer for us before we all leave. Oh, we have... Yes, yeah, come on up, Norma. We have Muriel. What's happening over there? Muriel, are you at the mic?
I realize that the conference is closed, but I would like to just very briefly give you the information or point out the information in regard to my representation of Métis people on the National Aboriginal Advisory Committee to the Commissioner of Prisons. And it isn't long. May I have permission to do this?
What did she say?
Well, then I'll just go ahead, seeing no objection. I represent the Métis people in regard to the prisoners in jail, both men and women. And I would turn your attention to page 13 and urge you, if you have any questions or wish to give me information regarding your experiences, just phone the Métis Nation and they will refer me. I don't work for the Métis Nation, but I feel obligated to report to you as citizens of the Métis Nation that what is being said and what is going on in the prisons. So in regard to my 3 points are, in regard to women who are being sent to jail, the solitary confinement issue, and the very rules and regulations that are now happening where our people are being criminalized and sent to jail to fill the jails. So I thank you. If you've got any questions for me, please feel free to do that or stand up right now and ask the questions. But I wouldn't have done this had I not thought it was very important.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Mariel.
Thank you.
Thank you for always being there to do that work for us. Now, Norma is going to do closing prayer.
And after the closing prayer, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. As we close this meeting, Lord, we want to give honor to you. We thank you for your love, your joy, and your strength, and the guidance you bestowed on us today as we discussed issues of concern to our Métis people. May you bless each person who took the time to gather here, and let your hand of protection be on them throughout the rest of the year. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Can we have a motion to adjourn? Motion made. Danny Cardinal make the motion to adjourn. See you all next year. Safe travels. God bless. Okay, guys, everybody needs to clear out. They have to set up for the banquet, and the doors open at 5:30. And I hear Arash has offered to buy everyone a drink that comes up to see him. So, Arash, you pull out that credit card. So if you don't have a ticket, those tickets are available at your regional payout as well as your regional leadership.